morning, good afternoon, and good night. Hello, YouTube! The Amateur Otaku has arrived in this live stream version of the podcast. I am so excited. How is everybody doing out there? Welcome and thank you for joining us at the Amateur Otaku live stream / podcast / YouTube channel and everything else that it's going to come up with. It's a teacher. It's going to be a teacher too. Isaac, you here with me, my brother?
Of course.
Ooh, yes. That, my friends, was the Matt Doc Isaac, as you can see in the name. If you have followed us in the 2 years that we've been on Anchor, you know that Isaac is mad. And no, it's not because he's Swedish or because he's a giant or because he's an elf or because he's hairy. I actually don't know. Why are you mad, Isaac? Is there a reason? I mean, have you been tested?
That's just the way I am.
Oh, okay. So it's not a condition, it's just your essence. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly.
Well, that is very nice, Isaac. Thank you for sharing that. I like how every time I ask you these questions about who you are and these profound notions of your identity as a mad doctor, I learn and I grow. And I grow even more scared of your presence. Oh, Isaac, I'm so excited. Can you believe it? We finally made it to YouTube. We've been doing podcasts for almost 2 years now. Had a very good following, people listening to us talk and discuss all the anime properties that we love and all that stuff. But we're finally here. We're talking podcasts live on YouTube, which is something that we've talked about for so long. And I'm really glad that we found the means to do it through StreamYard. StreamYard is such an awesome tool. This unpaid advertisement. Anybody want to do live streams? Go to StreamYard. It's actually very easy, very intuitive, and you can actually find out how to do it. It has a lot of good instructions. I was able to figure out all the basics of this with, of course, Isaac's help in a very short period of time. But me and Isaac have been talking about going to YouTube for the longest time, and I think we're finally here. We're on YouTube. We're also on Periscope, and we're going to be doing this new format where.
And hello, Leo.
Leo, my brother. That's Leo Rydell on the comments. Mr. Leo Rydell. He is the host of Geekly Goods, which is another awesome YouTube channel that you guys should check out. Geekly Goods is pretty awesome. Go check it out. We're really talking about this for a long time, and what we're going to be doing is we're never going to stop doing podcasts because that's what we love doing. But what we're going to do is going to be a different format. We're going to now be recording live streams on the topics and the series and the anime movies that we talk about that we normally do, and then we're going to be translating from the stream, editing it to a podcast episode. So we kill two birds with one stone, right, Isaac?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, for those that don't have any idea who the Amateur Otaku is, Isaac, what can you tell in your own mad way? What can you tell our audience? What is it that we do? What are we? What's the Amateur Otaku? What's our desire?
We are talking about anime, big and small, or maybe some obscure ones. Which I have tracked down for Brandon to suffer for later in later episodes, and we want to talk and spread the word, make people more aware about in certain titles, be it Attack on Titans, Cowboy Bebop, you name it. And this is what the show is all about.
Yep. And one of the things that drove me and Isaac just back in late 2018, before we started on 2019, one of the things that drove us to make this show is that we wanted people to discover anime. it wasn't just about doing reviews in general about random stuff that everybody's talking about. Our main perspective is that we want people to discover the awesome anime that's out there, or even discover the genre if they've never wandered into, oh, what is that? That's just a cartoon. No, 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 no. Take a minute. It's more than a cartoon. There's real artistry. There's real story. There's dimensions that you're missing out just for skipping on an anime show, or series, or movie. And I'm really happy that we picked a specific movie that I think actually encapsulates what deep, powerful, and rich anime is out there. And I think there's no better example of high quality anime than Your Name by Makoto Shinkai, which is the movie that we're going to talk about. Do you agree, Isaac?
Absolutely. It's it's a highest grossing anime movie for a reason.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because back in 2016 when it came out, and a couple of years after when I kind of heard about it, I never really knew what that movie was. I have to confess that I saw Your Name for the first time this year. I had not seen it before.
For shame.
I know, Isaac. Don't start with the One Pieces and the Bleaches or all the punishments you have for me. Take it easy on me.
I was more talking about you're going to watch the entire Dragon Ball series the rest of the week.
So, okay, Isaac, we're trying to have a nice conversation with our new audience. I mean, they don't need to know all the torture that you make me go through. Okay, this is not why we're here.
Or
or I hate you. So now let's talk about Your Name. Let's talk about this thing. Let's get into it. Let's have our traditional amateur otaku conversation. So what we like to do is we like to take a piece of anime material, whether it's a series, whether it's a movie, whether it's a series and a movie together, and we just break it down on what makes it amazing, what makes it great. If there's a show or if there's something that's not good, not great, we talk about it too. But most of the times we talk about it because we want you guys to discover what we discovered in it, or at least so you guys can see what we see in it, or at least have an idea of what we find. There's always something awesome in most anime too. But most of the time, we want you guys to discover what we discovered in it, or at least so you guys can see what we see in it, or at least have an idea of what we find. There's always something awesome in most anime too. But
wait.
So there was a little audio feedback. Don't worry. I think I saw what happened. It's okay. Okay, we're back. Yep. First episode on YouTube. But we're good. We are good. Okay, so, but yeah, here at the Amateur Otaku, what we do is we just discuss anime and talk about what we loved and why it should be considered something that you should check out. So on this particular movie, which is Your Name, which is a 2016 amazing film directed by Makoto Shinkai, produced and distributed by Toho Animation. It's distributed by Funimation in the States. We are going to talk spoilers. It is a movie that came out 4 years ago. But the spoilers that we're going to talk about some certain plot points in the movie, but we're going to talk about it in a way that is not necessarily to reveal to you the twists of the story, but more to draw you in, so hopefully you will see the movie, give the movie a chance yourself. And not just because it's an amazing movie, but because so you can get the richness of the animation, of the design, the storytelling, and understand that for a lot of anime, this kind of quality or insight into storytelling is the norm. A lot of people pass up a lot of anime, and we've covered a lot of different titles in our podcast. Recently we talked about Sword Art Online. We have 3 episodes on that, and we're going to keep covering the whole series. We've talked about Beastars. We've talked about Studio Ghibli movies. We've talked about Black Lagoon. We've talked about Cowboy Bebop, Attack on Titan. We've talked about Violet Evergarden. We've covered plenty of anime series, and we're going to keep covering them. And if you guys like what you find here, please go to anchor.fm/the Amateur Otaku. Follow us, listen to our episodes, share with people so people can find out who we are and we can keep doing these awesome content for you guys. So, Isaac, are you ready to talk some Your Name?
Yeah, that's my name after all.
So you brought your puns with you, didn't you?
Exactly.
Okay, so the pun machine is back. So as we talk, we're getting used to the setup. So I do have the comment section right beside me. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything in particular that you guys want us to cover at some point in our discussion, please send us a comment and we'll address the comments and questions at the end of the episode. So let's do it. Isaac, how did you discover this movie? Is this something that you heard was coming and was expecting? Did you simply discover it one day looking for a catalog? How did you find Your Name?
I found Your Name through the means of internet because a buddy of mine recommended for me, and I tracked it down and watched it and got in love with it. That's the TLD. Too long and didn't read the version of it. How about you, my friend?
Well, here's the thing. The funny thing for me, like I said, I opened up my heart and Isaac just stepped on it with a big foreshame. I saw the movie for the first time this year. I saw it, I think, was around April or March. And what moved me to watch this movie was that I had the privilege of watching the most recent Makoto Shinkai movie, which was Weathering with You. And I actually saw that here in the States and saw it in the theaters. And that movie just blew me away. The storytelling had tons of heart. I cried, I laughed. The animation was superb. And the storytelling is interesting in the way that it mixed Japanese folklore with a coming to age story, with a young love story. And it was innovative and creative. And it has a certain humanity to it. Like one of the things that I love about the Studio Ghibli movies then is that no matter how fantastical the scenarios are, all the people on screen feel real, even though we know they're animations, but they feel like real people or real characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that is something that you definitely find on Weathering with You with all these characters. So I found out who the director was Makoto Shinkai, and when I did this research, I was like, hey, this is the guy that did Your Name. And I was like, what? And I knew that Your Name was a thing, and I knew it was a big thing, but I never made it a point to watch the movie. But when I found out that Makoto Shinkai had directed Your Name prior to Weathering with You, I said, this is a movie I gotta watch. And I saw it for the first time. It's funny. I was talking to our friend Michael Thomas from Wilbam, Mike, and he was saying that he was wanting to watch this movie, but for some reason he couldn't buy it off Funimation for some reason. And I told him that I was able.
He said they recently rented it. No.
Okay, cool. Well, the funny thing was that might have been because I told him that the movie was available to rent on the PlayStation Store. So I got it from there. I watched it, and I was floored. I mean, let me start with this. One of the things that we've noticed in anime, especially in the last 10 years, is that the animation has evolved at an excessively rapid pace, especially with the iteration of 3D and computer designs mixed with animation. You know what I mean? Like in the last 10 years, it's like skyrocket how they keep combining things seamlessly. or they use computer animation to enhance the actual drawings and stuff like that. And for example, between Weathering with You and Your Name, you can see how more vibrant, for example, the animation of Weathering with You is. That being said, though, Your Name's animation is phenomenal, and it's funny how I just wanted to point out how in just 2 years, 3 years or 3 to 4 years, um, the animation has just evolved in such astounding way. Um, but this movie floored me, man. Um, it's it's a coming of age story. It's a love story. It's a time travel kind of story. This, what I love about Makoto Shinkai's movies, but this one in particular, more than Weathering with You, is that this is one of those things like what you find in Cowboy Bebop. This movie is a lot of things at the same time, and it does it amazingly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, it is doing so many things. There's like so many things that he's juggling, and the anime and the storytelling, but everything he tries to land, he lands every single thing. And every story beat, when it gets to a crucial point, it hits you really hard. Like I cry multiple times in this movie, especially towards the end, because by the time you get towards the end and what I'm going to call a final encounter, your heart is with these characters and everything that they went through, which is what you want in a good anime story or a good story in general. Um, One of the things that I was thinking about in this movie, which is I found it very interesting, and I don't know if you've ever felt this watching anime movies in general or stuff like that, but this is the kind of movie that is so dense that I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it could be considered that you were binging an entire season of a show.
How do you mean?
Like there's so much that happens. I mean, the movie's only an hour and 48 minutes, but you feel that so much happens in that because it's a relatively small amount of time. You know, I mean, we're not talking about Avengers Endgame. This is almost 3 hours. Like, it's a very little short time span. Like, this is just a regular film, but there's so much story and development that happens in that short period of time that I could see this being divided in like a 6 or 8 episode season. You know what I mean? Like, I could see it happening. I'm glad that it doesn't because I can enjoy all this at the same time. But that's how dense it feels for me. Like, because of the animation, because of the reaction, because of how he's intertwined all the different story elements, it feels like I've absorbed so much information in so little time. You know
Then
what I
I
mean?
then I have a question for you later that we could discuss.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I love this movie. It floored me. What was your first reaction? Were you expecting this movie to be this good? Like, did you when you first saw it, did you find out, oh my god, this is good, or were you like blown away?
Um, I knew about the director beforehand, and I have liked his work previously. It's not just Your Name that I watched from him. It's what's they called? Sorry, now I'm gone of words. Or Hoshio Kodama. I'm sorry if I spell.
Well, because you're talking about like he did a lot of short films,
Yeah,
right?
and I can't pronounce the Japanese one for the end of me, but yeah, it's I have seen his previous work and I love them, so I had some, let us say, high hopes when I saw it, and truth be told, it didn't uh, it didn't disappoint, so
Yeah.
to speak.
No,
Because
100%. Good.
because like we said like you said, I would argue that it's not only gorgeous in terms of visual, but it's also gorgeous in terms of story. And it has some fantastical elements, which is the comet. But even then, it feels like it's a real life love story, like a personal one at that, which make it such a unique and fine. Yeah, I would say the trope of two young teenager finding each other through some fantastical means is something that people have used plenty of time. But Makoto Shinkai, for some reason, with every time he does that, at least with those I've seen, I haven't seen all of his work, it feels fresh and unique. And it's a breath of fresh air. You enjoy every frame of it. Like, by the way, when I talk about frames, pretty much every scene in the movie is just press pause, print screen, and you can have it as a picture on the wall because they are so gorgeous. Which makes the because also a big thing about this movie is about how the teenager wish they had a different life, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I think it's so personal, because all of us have wished that we could have a different life sometimes. Be it that you wish you was a famous movie star, singer, author, or just wish that you could change, I don't know, move away from the city to another city. It could be big and small, and it uses that type of visual thought and use it and combine it with a fish out of water approach that works perfectly within its context. But, do you get what I mean?
No, 100%. I think close to what you're saying. What I love about it is, like, yes, like you said, there's fantastical elements. We have the whole thing with the comet. We have the whole thing with the body swapping. We have the whole thing with the playing with timelines. But the story feels so real, so grounded. Like, you believe that these are real teenagers. Like, they don't feel like these made up characters that live in Makoto Shinkai's brain. They feel like we could be that person. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
so easily relatable and accessible, and what they're going through is so relatable. I think the funniest thing, I think the easiest example or evidence to this, but at the same time, the more blush example is, for those that haven't seen this movie before, just to give a quick summary before I give these examples. So the movie follows two teenagers, Taki, a young teenage boy that lives in Tokyo, and Mitsuha, which is a young girl that lives in a town in the rural areas of Japan called Itamori. And when she starts desiring to live a different life, at some point, um, when they go to sleep, they wake up in each other's bodies. So there's this body swap, spirit swap element, a la Freaky Friday style. And one of the most real, down to earth moments that I feel that everyone can identify to a degree is when Taki was the young boy, when he wakes up in Mitsuha's body, and he notices something that he has boobs. And all he does is starts touching the boobs. And it's funny because when you think about it, you ask yourself, if I were a teenager and I was a boy and I wake up in a girl's body, I'm going to be like, I don't know what it is. Like every kid would do that. You know what I mean? And it's not done in a way that's lewd or offensive. It's that it's done with such innocence that I think that's why it works. Does that make sense? And of course, it's always paired with the young sister finding him out or finding her out, and it's like, what is it that you like about? You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, those are the kind of moments that you see, especially, and then when they start figuring out that they're switching bodies and how they're impacting each other's lives, and that's one of those things. For a teenager, their social life is like the biggest thing. You know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah.
most crucial, the most delicate thing. And I like how, even though it's treated as comedic opportunity, because the moments that you most laugh is when the body swaps happen and each of them do crazy stuff in the body of the other. I still find it crazy and hilarious whenever Taki is in Mitsuha's body and it looks like she never combs her hair and it looks like a rabbit beast. And those like the funniest moments until they start doing their diary and start leaving each other like reports of what they've been doing, so they start to respect each other and know each other. But it's like, even in that body swap element, if you remove that element of the body swap, that mystical thing, when you have a teenage boy and girl that like each other, um, what do you find a lot of times? All they do is tease each other. You know what I mean? All they do is be playful. They make fun of each other, they bother each other, and you can kind of see how that innocence, that playfulness, that sense of discovery, when two people are coming together in a way, in a beautiful way, it's translated into this body swap. But the body swap doesn't make it doesn't even the mystical doesn't make you lose contact with the relatability. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things try to be like over the top brainy or over the top spiritual to the point that you completely disconnect with whatever the hell the story is happening. This doesn't do that. You never lose sense of them being real characters, going through real situation, going through real moments. And those are the things that I love about this movie, man. I mean, the human moments are what you love the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was, before we go into the more deeper things, what were the funniest moments for you? What were those moments for you were the funniest?
You already talked about them, so I don't know how to.
Is it for me, for example, because it's not just is it the boob grab?
No, just
Or like when they're screaming at each other in the different bodies?
how it's more like like you said. I noticed that she never brushed her hair when he swaps the body with her, and people just what? Just so from social confusion, so to speak, because sometimes it can be funny to see someone so out of character if it's not in a bad manner, so to speak.
Right. So it's the social awkwardness that occurs whenever they're switching. That's what you find the most funny. Well, to me, what I find the funniest is when they start leaving each other reports of what the other one did. And so what they would do is so they start leaving each other reports and they start reading what the other person did with their body and they start freaking out. And you see this sequence where they start writing their arms, start writing in their face and everything and screaming at the mirror and all that stuff. I found it so beautiful. And I like how this movie, sets up so many powerful moments in those moments of comedy. Because as you know, all this writing on your body, it's what sets up one of the most powerful moments in the movie. And I gotta say, the ability of this guy to set up big moments in the smallest of details is astonishing. Like the beginning starts, like for example, all the little breadcrumbs that he puts from the beginning of the movie, and how it starts connecting to everything. Um, it's pretty brilliant. Like for example, I I don't want to give away the big twist, but from watching the beginning of the movie, you would never imagine twist at the towards the end. Did the twist catch you by surprise? It definitely
No,
caught me.
no, it didn't caught me as surprise.
It didn't?
No.
Can you stop using, just because the movie deals in time travel doesn't mean you have to go into the future and find out what the
Because I've seen so many animes that I'm not that surprised.
Well, when you say that you already knew the twist, are you talking about her fate, or are you talking about how they come together at the end?
Both.
Damn it, Isaac! How many anime have you watched? Because I think
600 around since I started watching anime around. I've seen around 600 plus animes and counting, all, probably up to 700 by now.
oh, that's a whole life. I've only watched two. No.
I've watched. For the record, people, I started watching anime when I was 13, and I'm 28 now, so it's not like I'll spend my entire 2 years watching it like no tomorrow.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised that you were able to catch it, because to me, it caught me by surprise, because I was not expecting him to introduce a timeline swap. Because here's the thing, this movie it's like I said, in the different acts, it becomes a different kind of movie. It starts being this slice of life, magical, coming of age love story. Then it becomes this interesting, um, I don't know, thriller kind of, and then it becomes this sci-fi movie with time travel or time loops and timelines. And even though it takes all these dramatic shifts and these turns, I love how what allows you to switch off your brain, because I think that's the beauty of anime, because you're not watching real people. And I want to hear what you think, Isaac. Because you're not watching real people and you're watching animation, um, I think it's a lot easier for you to believe that this kind of twist in the type of storytelling or this change of genre can happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Be-
that brings me to the question actually, because with the whole animation and that, yes, you might be you might heard about J.J. Abrams has been announced to produce a live action version of Your Name.
what?
Yeah, did you hear that?
Ah. So what are you telling me? That he's gonna add lens flare to the freaking comic?
Mark Webb is going to direct it.
Who's gonna direct it?
Mark Webb, he's the one. He's the one that did two anime,
Boy.
to
Okay.
the Amazing Spider-Man news, and he is known for romantic drama. So who knows? But do you think this movie could work as a live action adaptation, and how would you approach it if you were the one that got the job?
Wow, why are you Isaac? How dare you pack bazookas in your back pocket? um but yes, that was a big one. That's a big question. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I think I see why this connects to what you were saying. Um I think it's going to be very hard for two reasons. Number one, the fact that it's not real people and the fact that it's anime, like I said before, I think it's part of what makes the drastic change in tone and the drastic change in genre that happens in between the film, which is kind of like two different genres throughout the film, a lot more digestible. It has to do with the fact that it's animation. And it has to do with the fact that you're so invested in these characters by the time that the shifts occur, that even though the shift is happening, you want to follow the character. The character drives you through the shifts. Does that make sense? Now,
Yeah.
when you go to live action, like for example, if you're gonna watch a superhero movie, right?
Yeah.
You're expecting something extraordinary, something supernatural, something that it's not coming or to be expected, right? But when you're trying to tell a love story, or when you're trying to tell a coming of age story, and it takes these left turns, it kind of loses some of the charm, because the fact that it's real life acting and real life places, it kind of diminishes the relatability. Do you know what I mean? Because you're no longer just thinking about the characters. You're removing the sense of disbelief because you're seeing a real person. You know what I mean? Like the idea of this, if the idea of is this real or not, when you watch an anime, you're turning that off and you're opening yourself to everything they have to offer. And if they have amazing characters like your name does, you're going to go for the ride. But when you try and tell the story in live action, I think it's a lot more difficult. Now, here's the thing. If I were to do it, let's say I have no choice, they're going to pay me $1 bazillion to do this movie. I would do the best I can to, first of all, to probably make sure that the essence of the story is there. Keep the same beats, keep the comet, keep the timeline, keep the idea of of them being from different areas. I could see how if we're going to do it, if we're going to do an English version or a human version, and it's going to be done by a United States motion picture studio, it's very possible that it's not going to happen in Japan, of course. Um, and it's going to be like a modern life story. So it's going to require some tweaks in the cultural aspects of how they approach certain moments. But there's another thing there, that everything that happens that he draws from Japanese culture are part of the things that make this a charming movie. You know what I mean? And I was actually watching, I actually bought the film. I have it on Blu-ray, and it has an extra feature where they interview Makoto. And one of the things that he talks about is, because they actually asked him, um, how different do you think that the American audience and the Japanese audience received the movie? And one of the things that he said that make me think was that he goes and says, well, here's the thing. All these things of Japanese culture, like the shrines and all that stuff, is very possible that the American audience has never seen them before. But at the same time, these things are no longer mainstream Japanese culture. So a lot of times, even Japanese people are discovering these aspects of the culture too. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that idea of discovering culture or using that as a as part of that connecting tissue to keep it interesting, I think it's something that you don't want to lose because I think it's part of what makes the movie and the story work. Now it can work live action, but I think it has a very tall order ahead of it. Like it's gonna be hard. And
Oh,
and and I mean, what do you think? Do you think um, is there any weight to what I'm talking about in terms of the idea of animation
yeah.
opening you for experiencing a lot more than you would with a live action film?
Uh, well, I think you're absolutely right when you're what you're talking about when it's importance for the animation uh, part and all that. Yes, I do think the concept of this type of story could work, no matter if it was in Sweden, Spain,
Agreed.
uh, and because of that, I think you can do sort of like you do with Edge of Tomorrow. They are
Okay.
they are taking the essence of
Mm-hmm.
All You Need Is Kill, but creating its own version of it on that regard, uh, making it a good and solid adaptation, even if it's not 100% truthful because of their taking only taking the essence.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned previously about it was like watching a TV series. Do you think if uh, Bad Robot is kicking off this production and makes a adaptation of it, do you think it will end up as a movie or a TV series for maybe HBO Max?
That's a good question. I mean, I would say I don't know. That's a very good question. I think it might benefit as a mini series to a degree because, like we've said more and more again, being that it's animation, it's allowed. It gives you a dimension that allows it to be more dense. Like you can consume a lot more information because everything is visual and you're not distracted by the realness of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because you're just admiring from top to bottom the art. And if in our case, if we're watching it dubbed instead of subbed in our own language, it's going to be even more that. But of course, Japanese voice acting is superb. So both Japanese voice acting and English voice acting in this movie is fantastic. Um, but yeah, I don't know because part of me wants, if we're going to do it, I want to be able to walk away with the most closest experience to the original as possible in the sense that if I'm able to feel the beats, and of course they don't have to be exactly the same, but if I walk away from the live action version with the same emotion and and reaction that I walked away from watching the series or something very close to it, watching the original anime or something close to it, then I think the film or the series achieved its goal. Even though I did say that it feels like a series because of how dense it is, I think the best thing will be in a movie because if you do a live action series, for example, it's gonna lose momentum. Does that make sense?
yeah,
And this is one of those films that you can literally feel how one scene drives to another and it drives to another. Like it's a non it's a non-stop train ride. You know what I mean? Very little stops. It doesn't really stop. Like even when you think you're catching your breath, it just hits you again, in the best possible way, though. But I would even say, I think if they do a live action version, what are the story beats? Like you gotta pick a location. right?
Yeah.
And then after you pick a location, you have to develop a tragedy. Is it a comet? Or is it a different kind of tragedy? Is it an earthquake? Is it something more grounded? You know what I mean? Um, how do it's not going to be a time travel movie, right? So how do we explain without going into Japanese culture? How would you explain the whole time flow thing? Which is what I like in this movie, so that it does so well, is that it uses those roots of Japanese tradition and of mysticism to explain all the mythical aspects of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot. It's show don't tell. They use those elements of culture. Like, what elements of American culture could we use to showcase that or to make it accessible? You know what I mean? Um, it has a lot of challenges. I mean, there's something this, I don't know, it's part of me doesn't even want to consider making a live action version or a different version of this. Part of me doesn't want to do that. But now that I'm doing the exercise, I see it as, I'm sorry, I see it as a task it's like it's an undertaking. It's something pretty big.
Yeah, I don't want it either. I was thinking that this could be a subject matter, considering, well, like I said, doing doing the whole. They're doing they have been confirmed of a live action production. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen. Who knows?
Especially in the age of COVID, I mean, everything's halted. So even if this hasn't even entered pre-production, who knows? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's which I think it brings me to our first order of business. What do we do at the Amateur Otaku? We want people to discover anime. This is the kind of film that if you want to wet your feet into the ocean that is anime. That was a horrible metaphor, but
Step
this
into
is
the ocean of anime would be more fitting.
what'd you say?
Step your foot in the ocean of anime would be more fitting.
Yeah. This is definitely the movie to do it. I mean, it has these characters feel real, they're relatable, the story is fantastic, all the story beats are there. I mean, and I think the biggest thing is that these characters are this story is so powerful that it hits you. Now, we've all fell in love in different moments of our lives. Um, and the fact that I can watch an anime property and I can feel my heartstrings be shaken, be moved by this speaks volumes. And I think that there's been it's more the anime that breaks my heart and speaks to me emotionally more than films in my life. I think there's a sensitivity that anime provides to authors that artists like Makoto Shinkai, like Hayao Miyazaki, um, and plenty of others have used to tell amazing stories. And Your Name is definitely one of those. Um, I mean, this movie won plenty of awards when it came out, right? Like this movie was
I'm
explosion. Yeah.
pretty sure that it did. Let me check.
Well, I have our friends in Wikipedia here. So let me see. Yeah, it won the award for Best Animated Picture in the 49th Cities Film Festival, 2016 Los Angeles Film Critics Association, 71st Mainichi Film Awards, and also the 40th Japan Academy Prize. Like this is like it's top tier anime.
Didn't win the best anime movie for Oscars?
It doesn't show here if it did, but I am not. Oh, the last line in the summary of your name, you know what it says in Wikipedia? An American live action remake set in the United States is currently in development.
At least Spirited Away has one, so they are somewhat not non-biased for
Right.
Asian.
Right. Agreed. They give it a chance. So
It should at least be nominated for fudge sake.
Agreed.
Who won that year? I need to know.
Now, this is definitely one of my favorite anime movies of all time, and I've seen a couple. I know you've seen plenty more than I have. Now, let's talk about real quick. The idea of the whole time lapse thing, right?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you? Because I know you mentioned that you kind of saw her fate on the comet and stuff like that. But when they introduced this timeline crossing or whatever we call, I don't know what that is, but that time lapse thing where they're in when you find out that everything that he's experiencing, Taki is 3 years in the future, and Mitsuha is 3 years in the past. Did that shock you? Like, I was not expecting that.
No, it didn't shock me because I had seen that this year. I've seen time travel stuff before.
But did you see it done that way?
Not that I can remember, but like I said, the time travel I thought the time travel could be a good, could have been implemented, considering he is known to add some fantastical elements in his stories.
Yeah, I kind of saw that he does a lot. He likes a lot of sci-fi storytelling, but I like how everything.
Although,
even some. Go ahead.
Although, you can argue one thing: if they are 3 years apart, you would think that in the amount of time that they spend with each other, so to speak, something might they should have noticed that they. But I'm 3 years. 3 years back in the future. 3 years back, or I'm 3 years forward. So to speak, I'm not in the same year as I am. You get what I'm saying?
That would make sense. That would make sense. Like actually seeing a calendar.
Yeah.
Like no, I agree. I agree. But one of the things that makes me think that allows you to suspend disbelief is the fact that they come from completely different areas. Like Tokyo, it's its own beast. Like this metropolitan populated universe, right? And then Itamori is this secluded rural place. That in and of itself became the biggest shift in their world, that they didn't see these other things, or maybe just part of the magic. But you know what I mean? Like for example, in the case of Mitsuha, her dream is going in Tokyo. So when she finally finds herself in Tokyo, even if it's not in her own body, she doesn't think about anything else. She just thinks about the fact that I'm in Tokyo. You know what I mean? And I think it has to do also with the idea that they all think it's a dream. But that's a good observation. I would have think that as soon, and the funny thing is that they're leaving themselves reports on their phones. So how do they not see the date? I don't know. Maybe it was blurred because of the magic. I don't know. But I did find, I gotta tell you, whenever you find out that she went to go meet him before the whole event, and she's the reason that he has her braid. Like those things just, I mean, I'm a sucker for good romances, but those kind of moments, I think this movie does something that even live action movies don't do, for live action films don't do, is that the way they set up the emotional beats in this film are phenomenal. And I like how they don't just hit you out of nowhere with nonsense. Like you can see how you could have caught it, that it was going to build up to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think my favorite thing was that you can see her, you hear she was going to Tokyo, and you're like, what do you mean? And then you see the whole story of Taki running to the mountain in her body, and she's going to Tokyo to meet him. And I don't know. I mean, it's just so beautiful. And of course, my favorite moment is when Taki and Mitsuha are on top of the mountain, and he says, let's write our names down so that we don't forget. Well, he doesn't write his name. He simply tells her that he loves her. And I'm going to cry now.
Yeah, the director sure pulls the heartstrings, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I also enjoyed about this film, especially when it has to do with romance, and I think it's one of those things that I love about the portrayal of romance in general in Japanese media. And you see a lot of animes. Like you have to find a raw, mature adult anime to find the amount of sexuality when it comes to two people hooking up or whatever. You really have to look for it unless you're literally looking for the wrong stuff. But I love how, and you see it
Wow.
all the time in Studio Ghibli movies, you see it all the time in anime, is that romance between teenagers and even adults is treated with some sincerity and emotional integrity that a lot of times in American media or European media, you don't find that. Like a lot of times, like to show people that you're in love, you automatically have to see the two people hook up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to see them have sex, or you have to see them kiss and spit be everywhere or whatever. But the innocence of love, of the idea of you caring for a person and showing that person that you love them, that you care for them. Like this is one of those films that they show you when you walk away from this film, you never see a kiss, you never see them hug, you never see them holding hands, you don't see them hook up.
Yeah.
But there is no way that you can say that these kids are not profoundly in love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is something that I love about most anime, because they know how to explore that. And that's why for me it's so emotional, because I'm a romantic, or whatever you can say, but that kind of portrayal of what love really is, of that commitment to one another, of that exploration of that kind of emotion or feeling, and the idea that you're teenagers and you remember that you were a teenager once, and like not like the idea of American media, most or a lot of European media, they make you think that love is connected to a physical contact, when it is, when in reality, real love, you could even say it's more of a, there is a physicality to it, but it's more of a spiritual, mental, and philosophical exploration of your feelings with another person. And this movie touches on that. And I love that about this movie. Like the fact that this movie ends like my American trained mind, Isaac, my America trained mind was thinking, okay, they're gonna find each other, they're gonna remember, and they're gonna kiss. You know what I mean? That's what's in my American trained mind. But when they meet and they start crying, and all they say, "Do I know you?" And then he goes, "Can I know your name?" And I was like, "Oh!" And then the movie ends, and you're like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" Like you're left with that beautiful longing that you get from a beautiful story, you know. And I don't know. It gives me faith in humanity, Isaac. Damn it.
I mean, there is at least one movie that he has the character, quote unquote, get together with. So it's not he isn't doing it like that in all of his film.
Oh no, I agree. You mean like Makoto Shinkai has other films that they do that? You mean?
Yeah,
Oh no, I'm not surprised. But it's one of those things that even when they do get together, that's not what's important. You know what I mean? Like the importance is not isolated to the physical act of loving someone. It's the importance is emphasized on the commitment, on how far they're willing to go for each other. One of the things that I love about the film is the fact that on one end, you see how far Taki was going to go, or how far Taki was willing to go to find Mitsuha. But it also takes the time to show how far Mitsuha was willing to go to find Taki. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't all, and it also like it wasn't just like a guy trying to win the girl. You know what I mean? You saw the emotion and the excitement and the desire from both parties. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like both Mitsuha and Taki, they both wanted to find each other. They both wanted to love each other. They both wanted to come together. And I don't know, man. I may be a sucker for innocent stuff like this, but it's a beautiful story, man.
Dude,
I,
dude. Like I said on the podcast with Leon, Geekly Goods. I love personal stories like this as well. Yes,
Yeah.
see the Whispers of the Heart that we
oh yeah, such a
talk a
good.
lot.
That's another amazing movie, bro.
So
That's so good.
I totally with you because
Mm-hmm.
I will go so far to say Japan knows how to make romantic romance movies far better than America or any other Western
Agree.
production production movie production do.
100% agreed. 100% agreed.
I stand by that fact because sure some of it can be a bit cliche even there, but their executions feel far better. It's
Right.
far more sincere and far more complex. Then again, there is a romance movie I like from United States and all that jazz too, but don't get me wrong, but if we shall compare and contrast, it's the Japanese romance movie, especially the anime movies, every day in the week.
Yeah. There's a I think it has to do with when you don't emphasize the physicality when it comes to expressing these kind of emotions. There's a certain type of honesty in the storytelling. You know what I mean? Like you feel that they're speaking truth to you, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this a movie like this shine. This kind of story shine. Because you feel that someone is talking to you with honesty, with truth, you know, and
Yeah.
and 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 that's what you enjoy. That's what you end up enjoying it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we've talked enough about the film without giving away too much, but giving people enough that they might want to check it out. What do you think, Isaac?
I don't know. There's some parts in it would argue was a bit much, but it wasn't just dissecting the entire movie.
Right, right. So like there's a lot of stuff that we haven't revealed. There is a time element, there's a body swap element, there's mysticism, but it's a beautiful love story that I think everybody out there needs to give themselves a chance to discover. Um, and you guys should give it a chance. Your Name, I mean, I bought my Blu-ray copy of it in Best Buy here in the States. Um, you bought yours online, or you bought it in your usual anime shop in Sweden? Was it?
My usual anime shop, science fiction book handle.
Yeah. Now, the cool thing also is if anybody has a PlayStation or Xbox, this is one of those films that you can easily rent or purchase from any of these retailers. But this is a movie that it's $4 or $5 US to probably rent it. Trust me, if you're looking for something to watch in date night, this is the movie to watch. It's amazing. It's you both will not regret it. And because it's high quality anime, it will show you that if you don't make anime part of your regular um, plethora of things that you can watch, you're missing out. And that's the biggest thing. Um, we think that a lot of people are missing out just because they look at anime and they think it's just cartoons or it's just action. I mean, of course, everybody that talks anime thinks that we're talking about Dragon Ball Z and Kamehamehas and Goku. And I am going to say this, Isaac. It was so funny when I was watching the final shots of the movie and I saw the comment. I started thinking, what if this crossovered with an anime and that comet was actually Vegeta? And could you imagine Your Name crossing over with Vegeta? Or
Don't get people ideas, please.
hey, they're gonna make a live action. I can make my own Your Name / Dragon Ball Z, and that comic can be Vegeta. Damn
That would
it.
be weirder.
Should you imagine instead of baby Goku, baby Vegeta, and he wakes up with the sake and okay, I'll stop. So but yeah, a lot of people are missing out, and there's so much anime out there. Like, you have your fantasy anime, you have the slice of life anime, you have Food Wars, you have anime about gambling, you have animes about loss, you have anime about first loves, you have anime about sports. I mean, there's so much stuff out there that you guys should give anime a chance if you haven't. If you have watched anime and you already enjoy it, let us know in the comments. Let us know what animes you like. Let us know what animes you guys would like us to cover in the future. And if you're interested in knowing about us and what we do, you can go back to our episode archive on anchor.fm/the amateur otaku. We have over 30 episodes on different anime series, on live action movies. One of our most popular episodes to date was our season 1 finale, which is on the Rurouni Kenshin movies, which all 3 movies are amazing. And we talk about live action, and we do a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know it's out there. And we just want
By
to
the
share
way,
it. Yeah.
are we going to post the old ones on YouTube as well?
Once I figure it out how to do it properly in a good way, I will definitely do that. But in the meantime, I'm probably gonna just add the live streams on the YouTube channel, and then put the links towards the archive um, to just keep fresh content on there. But if you guys want us to put the old episodes on YouTube as well, let us know, and I will commit to it and make it happen so that you guys have more views and more additional ways to reach our content. Um, Isaac, anything else you want to say to our listeners about the movie, about animes that you're excited to talk about?
I'm excited to torture Brandon about some weird old animes. She he has to watch just because he has forced me to watch a certain Sword Art Online.
Well, you know what? Let's end the episode with that. So, we actually made it a point because Sword Art Online is starting to air its last season out there. We actually decided to talk about our. We started. I'm sorry. We started um, covering the entire series as a whole. So we've done 3 episodes on Sword Art Online. We've covered the first series in 2 episodes, and we covered the first arc of series 2, which was an amazing heated discussion on Sword Art Online, on virtual reality, on post-traumatic stress disorder, how it's portrayed in anime. Um, I think it's one of the most popular recent episodes that we has. It already has 19 listens, and if you love Sword Art Online, or even if you don't like it, the funny thing is, Isaac and I normally agree with everything, but Sword Art is something we do not agree on at all. So if you want to see us,
Understatement.
yeah, and if you want to see us duke it out and share our different philosophies on the show, go listen to those episodes. There's a lot of heated discussions, but a lot of insight of how we see things, and maybe it resonates with what you guys think about the show or other shows in general. And the best thing about it is that we just talk our opinions, and we want to share it with you guys, so you guys go check out the shows. We want to hear your feedback. Go watch the show, tell us what you think. If you watched Your Name recently, or if you've never seen it before, please send us a comment. Put a comment on this video, or reach out to us on Twitter at Amateur Otaku Pod, and let us know what you thought of this live stream, what you thought about Your Name, or any anime that you guys want us to cover. The main reason why we do this is for you guys. If there's an anime out there that you don't know if it's something that you should check out, let us know. We'll watch it, we'll review it, and you'll decide whether to check it out or not. But at the same time, if there's an anime that you've never heard of, but you see that we're covering it, you might want to pay attention, because we're covering it for a reason. Most of the times when we cover a show is because a lot of people have never heard of it, but it's a hidden gem that I know that a lot of people would like.
That I mentioned to Brandon, and he just, I've never heard of it.
Which one?
Pretty much everyone we have covered so far.
Yeah, a lot of them, yes. And one of the ones that a lot of people know about, but it's an older anime that I think people should check out, is Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon is fantastic action anime, and it's also a serious mature story. And we did an episode on that. So, guys, we're gonna do a couple of. How about we do Isaac? How about we do a couple of plugs, and we head out?
Yeah. And before we do the plugs, I just want to point out one thing about the Sword Art episode. Just a heads up. In the third episode we have about Sword Art, I curse like a sailor during that episode. So yes, just a warning for your people, because that arc pissed me off. So I just wanted to give you a fair warning, in case you are not comfortable with that kind of language.
I mean, yeah, he curses. But then again, if you listen to our commentary track on End of Evangelion, let's just say that this nice Scarlet fan goes full Reverse Flash. That's all I'm gonna say. So let's do a couple. Let's do a couple of.
Watch that movie, and I'm so happy about it.
Yes, the things you make me watch, Isaac. So we have plenty of more Sword Art Online coming soon. This is going to be our new format. We're going to be covering live streams, so it goes on YouTube, and then we're going to be editing the episodes and putting them on Anchor as new episodes there. So I hope you guys like the new format. We just want to make the Amateur Otaku more accessible to a lot more people, and let us know what you think. Do you guys like this live stream version of the Amateur Otaku? Do you guys like the fact that we're on YouTube? Let us know. We do have a Twitter account. We are on Twitter at Amateur Otaku Pod. We're also on Facebook. I'm working on the Facebook page. So if you look up the Amateur Otaku on Facebook, there's a page that is live there as well. Isaac, where can we find you, my brother?
You can find me at Emblemaniac, like you see on the screen there, with my profile pic. And you can find my work at Boben Entertainment.
Nice. And you can find me on Twitter at the Scarlet Fan 52. I wrote a lot of stuff on the Flash on Revenge of the Fans when it was a more known website. I am going to start writing stuff for Robam Entertainment as well. So I'm going to be writing about anime stuff and other superhero related stuff. I'm a big Flash fan. We also have the Shatter After podcast, which we do movie analysis or video game analysis on there. But if you guys want us to cover something in particular on the Amateur Otaku, here's how you do it. Send us a direct message on the at Amateur Otaku Pod on Twitter. Put a comment on the live stream videos, or send us an email, amateurotakurtf@gmail.com. That is amateurotakurtf@gmail.com. From here to you, thank you for joining us at the Amateur Otaku Podcast. We'll see you later, guys. Have it awesome.
Have it awesome. Peace.
Amateur Otaku is out!